Says we got like a minute left.
55 seconds.
That's right. Got to get the real exact time.
Holiday week. They could be visiting family.
We good?
Go ahead, fire away.
All right, it's about 9 o'clock, so let's get started with this. Hi, for those that don't know me, I think I've seen most of you here before. I'm Sean Bluebaum. I'm our Senior Project Manager for Sundt, for both the Inspirata Pointe and the Vista Center project. And I'm here with Todd.
My name is Todd Ganter. I'm the Senior Superintendent over both sides of campus as well.
All right, we didn't bring any special guests this time, but we do have hopefully a good presentation and update. So
We're building anticipation for next month with a special guest.
Yeah, that's right. Well, next month we're bringing our brand new 2022 intern. So, yeah.
Ta-da!
So she'll join us next month, and you'll get to meet her. But this month you just get Todd and I. So hopefully we'll live up to whatever expectation there is. So let's get going. If I can get this to work. There we go.
Ah.
All right, so every month I like to start out with the rendering of what we started out with the intent to build, and then a current progress update. So that is what it looked like before we put a shovel in the ground, and that is what it looks like right now. So starting to look pretty darn close. All of our structures are being worked on or in some form in progress. And we will pretty soon be starting some of the remaining site work and things like that. We actually just did some trees along the south side too, and talk about that a little bit later with our upcoming work. But that is the current status. Everything you'll see here is from July 1st, roughly, June 30th, July 1st, so just a few days old. So here's our agenda. We'll do the safety share, a little bit of a project overview and update, look at some current photos, talk about upcoming work, and then any questions and answers. And as always, if you got a question, raise your hand. All right, you don't have to wait till the end. You can throw something at Todd too. I'll give you permission to do that.
Work on my catching skills.
Yeah. Not at me, that way when you throw things. Okay, safety share. So we thought this month it'd be appropriate to talk about weather since we're going to be getting into that, or are into that monsoon season. So that is our safety share this week, is on monsoons. So basically, in general, everybody knows about monsoons, I think, right? It's lightning, it's wind, it's dust. You can have flash floods because it's really flat here, so it just fills up and then goes away and then gets really, really humid. So we also have extreme heat that comes with it, which is a big deal for us in construction because our guys and gals are working outside most of the day, right? So heat exhaustion is something we've talked about at this presentation before. And then obviously wildfires are an issue. Hopefully not here. Otherwise, the main thing we have that's wood is our buildings, so we certainly don't need a wildfire here. But as far as what it does to us specifically construction is if we don't have sort of the hatches battened down, if we don't have roofs on, if we don't have items stacked up and material storage nice and tidy, we can have a big problem on an active construction site, and we can have things that look like that.
Yeah, so one of the beauties that I like about working for Sundt is that we do these safety shares, and it's not just about our experiences, it's about other people's experiences. So the pictures up on the screen are not of Royal Oaks projects. Okay? So our metal stud framer on the job who's doing the fun building, Ian K, they had another job across town where they had stacked some sheetrock near some windows. And some haboobs came through, some high winds, and it just picked up those pieces of sheetrock. Those things weigh 93 pounds for an 8-foot sheet, 4x8 sheet, and it just threw them around like a house, like a deck of cards. And as you see, obviously you can see all the bent structural or metal framing inside the buildings. So we take this very serious when it's this time of year. We get the alerts just like you all do on your phones that, stuff's coming through. So we talk about it, several times a week in our sub meetings, subcontractor meetings, that we have to really tie our materials down, especially those guys that are working up on the roofs. The roofers have really lightweight insulation, and that stuff really takes flight. So that is not our objective, to let any materials leave the ground. So we talk to all our guys about making sure stuff is tied down and secured. We've got all of our retentions cut and our water diversion away from the buildings swaled, such that when we get these quick flash flood rains where we can get like 1.5 inches in a half hour, we're prepared for it. So last year at this time, 12 short months ago, we thought we were prepared, and Mother Nature beat us, but she hasn't beat us since. So we did create some different measures, and we've got it under control this year. So, one of the other pictures that we showed was lightning. We do take lightning serious. Our safety monitor, or safety director for the job site, Jason Martin, whom you've met before, he goes ahead and has an app on his phone, and when there's lightning within 10 miles, he gets notified. And then he comes running into my office and says, "Hey, we got problems." I'm like, "No, we don't have problems. It's 10 miles out. We'll still be fine. Let's keep working." Because I'm the guy that pushes, keep working. So when it gets to 5 miles, then he gets really panicky, and he gives me the stare down look. And then I say, "Okay, let's get guys out of the man baskets. Let them get off the scaffolding. Let's get them off the roofs. We can still keep working inside because we're protected." But that's one of the things that we do go through, is monitor when lightning comes in, that we make sure we don't put any of our people in harm's way. So those are all the things we talk about during monsoon season.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Jason, now our safety person, starts to get panicky when it's about 20 miles away, not 10, and he starts to soften Todd, right? "Hey, it's coming. 3 hours from now, it's coming. 2 hours from now, it's coming." But I used to joke, in Arizona, you see guys up on scaffold, and they see a cloud, and they point at it, and then they all get down and go home, right? But there is a certain element to that just has to do, if there's lightning nearby, we can't take a chance. And it's just that simple, right?
So Sean hails from the Northwest, and
we build things in the rain.
I
up there.
hail from the
It's
Midwest.
okay.
And back there, we would draw like a 6 or 12-inch diameter circle on the ground. And if we got more than 5 drops in that, then we would call it a rain day. I think here in Arizona, everybody draws like a 12-foot circle. And if they get 1 drop in it, they try and go home.
I don't think
But
they need a
we
drop.
keep
You
them
just
here.
need a cloud like that, and
Yeah.
they're out of here.
Yeah.
So anyway, we do plan for it. It's a little bit difficult to plan for Mother Nature, but we do the best we can to try to make sure we keep aware of that. And like I said, materials being strapped down is a big part of it. A couple of years ago, in downtown Phoenix, one of our competitors had a tower going, and they didn't secure their materials, and they had plywood and drywall and things like that flying through the air from 10 stories up. That can cause a variety of damage. So we want to make sure we do a lot of preparation for that. Okay. Any questions on safety before we get on to the project update? Yes, sir.
The question is what are our working hours as of right now? Right now, we are opening the gates approximately 4:30 in the morning, so guys can come in and they can open up their connexes. People can park in the parking area, and we start our safety meetings at 5 a.m. And most crews are running from 5 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. just because it's so warm out. And then we have several crews that have elected to work 10s, so they're working 4 10s and an 8 instead of coming in on a Saturday. And those guys are working till 3:30 in the afternoon. So that's our hours right now, is we're keeping the gates open from about 4:30 in the morning till about 4-ish in the afternoon is when we start locking everything up.
And those adjust with daylight, right? As we move into fall and sunrise gets later, that'll slowly adjust.
I'm everybody's fan in the springtime and the summer because we keep moving the hour up. And then once we get into like July and August, a lot of people don't like me on the job site because we have to slide the hour back. And everybody likes getting to work early, getting home early and beating all the traffic. So I'm a friend for a little while and enemy for the other half of the job. But it's Mother Nature that sets the rise and set of the sun.
Okay. Good question. Thank you. Okay, on our project overview and update. So we've got some pictures and things. We'll sort of go building by building, and I'll let Todd give a bit of a general update as we go through as well. So, Todd, do you want to just go through?
Yeah,
this
sure.
This is building C.
Yeah, this is the west elevation of building C. It looks white because it's painted. very, very important thing for us. We've gone through and we went from a white stucco or white foam system to a gray cementitious back to white paint. So what you'll see happening in the next couple weeks, actually starting Thursday, is the north elevation. We'll start pulling scaffold down. And then next week, we'll be pulling the scaffolding down on this elevation. So we have gone through and done the entire exterior skin envelope. We're finishing up with our last little bit of louvers and caulking of windows this week. And then we're going to be back to seeing a beautiful white building here in the near future.
Yeah, so you tie that back into what we talked about with weather. This building is dry, right? This building has envelope on, it's got windows on, it's got stucco on, it's getting painted, roof on. So we can work on the interior without a lot of disruption from things like weather.
Roof and roof drains,
Yeah.
the important part.
Yep.
Yes, sir. How many living units are in the C? 21. You're welcome.
Good question. Yes, sir.
You have HVAC, air conditioning in there, so when they're working,
Great question. So do we have HVAC? Well, last week, we did set all the mechanical equipment up there. So we are getting closer. The answer is no, we don't have conditioned air right now. We are currently setting mechanical units on the first floor inside the units. We are awaiting APS coming out next week to get us permanent power, but we have the electricians vertically going through the building right now, starting to bring power distribution, the power distribution from this building, or for both B and C, come in from there's a transformer that is right outside of A1. It comes into the north side to a service entrance section, which is the meter section. And after that meter section, it dives down into the basement, and it hits a couple of step-down transformers in there, and then a bus duct pathway system that separates the power and sends it vertically through the building. So we're working on that vertical distribution right now, but the really important thing is that we're getting power from APS and a meter next week. So that kicks us off being able to control our destiny of going through and getting powered up the units for HVAC. So to take your question one step further, we do have to provide HVAC conditioned space for when it comes time to setting all the millwork, which is all the kitchen cabinetry and all the bathroom cabinets, and we have to acclimatize the flooring before we put it down. So that is part of one of our milestones that we're tracking is the sequential steps of what it takes to get AC running in there, and we've been diligently working to get to those steps. But currently, at the moment, we do not have AC in there. So we're controlling the space by opening some windows and blowing some fans around to circulate some air, and then also it's starting at dark early at the 5 o'clock, so the guys are out of here with the heat of the day. The question is how long do we condition the rooms before we install those products? So each manufacturer is different when it comes to acclimatization of product. I believe the flooring product here has to sit for 72 hours in a horizontal position with a climate control. There's a variance of high and low temperatures, but right now we're at 72. So we do have all the millwork here for the rest of both B, C, D, and E, and it is down in our little storage unit down in the garage. We've got 15,000 square feet of air-conditioned space down there that we're keeping at about 80, 81 degrees right now. So it's not super cool, but it's enough to keep the humidity out of it, and that's how we're managing the climate-controlled portion of things that need to stay that way.
It's super cool when you walk from outside down into that unit. So 81 feels fabulous.
Yes.
Yeah. Todd, I screwed up. I was thinking this was a still shot, but this is actually the start of our drone video.
Oh, giddy up. Let's
so,
fly.
Yeah, let's fly.
All right, as I mentioned, you can see last week we had a crane up on the north side. We were flying the rooftop equipment for building C. We also flew it for building B. Let's see. So as we circle around from the west elevation around to the north, I was talking about the electrical service entrance section. That sits right here, right below those gentlemen, and that's what powers up buildings B and C. We've got the bridge in place, and then this is building B. We've got the rooftop equipment set up there, exhaust fans, screen wall. You want to pause there for a quick second? Oh,
I knew that was going to happen too.
I tested them.
It's not letting me.
It's not
do
liking
it
you
on,
today, huh?
Well, it's not letting me control it on here where I can see it. So
Gotcha.
let's try this again.
All right.
No pausing, Todd.
No pausing. Okay, I'll have to
Talk
talk
fast.
fast. All right. So what you'll see in a couple minutes over here is this black area. That's one of the elevators. This is an elevator here. We've got that temporary dried in, and we've got all the components in there waiting to get our elevators from California. Most of the components are built. We're just waiting to get the rest of them here. You can see that this building is white. It is not painted, but we do start stucco on it this week. But good progress happening inside that building as far as mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and testing all the systems. And then gets into the fun building.
We've got some extra slides on that building.
Okay,
later,
perfect.
Too.
Some other areas that we fly over.
There's the donut.
Oh, the donut.
Water
Yep.
features.
This is so building F is behind us. This is the south elevation of building B. Again, you can see we've got screen walls framed up, getting ready for sheathing. All of these white bags happen to be all the Portland and lime and sand mix for our stucco operation. Wow, Glenn did a great job this month.
Mm-hmm.
So this would be the east elevation of C. We're getting around building D. We call it the west wing here. This building is fully stuccoed on 3 sides, which means it has the base coat and the finish coat on there. It's curing out right now, and we should be going to paint that thing here in the near future. That'll allow us to go through and remove the scaffolding in a couple of weeks. The scaffolding coming off of building C, we'll go ahead and scaffold building E. It'll wrap around the south, this east, and the north elevation of E. And then the scaffolding that we have on the west wing of D will come up and take care of the north wing of D in approximately 3.5 weeks. So since we last met, we've gone through and done a lot of completion of framing. We got our deck inspection yesterday and signed off for the north wing of building D. So we'll start our mechanical components up there, setting our roof curbs and our screen wall posts, and getting geared up for the roofers to start over there in about 2.5 weeks. So that is building F, the fun building. Lots of roofing progress and exterior skin progress. This building is in basically in all essence is dried in our conditions. So we've got the horizontal membrane in and most of the Tyvek are on the outside of the building. So we're cooking right along with insulation and ductwork and sheetrock inside the building. We also set some of the mechanical equipment for the kitchen, makeup air units. Those were set. And we did some work on the water feature the last month here.
Yeah, it's a smaller water feature,
yeah.
And there's a couple more in the courtyard there.
Correct. So we went ahead and laid up all the brick and the capstone for it. And you can see as we fly away from building F across the courtyard, get a view looking to the east of what campus looks like now. So, all right.
Well done.
Cool.
I got some still shots there too, if we want to get into more
Sure,
detail on
perfect.
anything. Okay. So we also have the Vista drone video. It is quite a bit shorter because there's not near as much to show. But one of the things that I want you to pay attention to is we're starting the underground storm drainage out there right now. And so you can see actually the truck pull in and start to get offloaded with the tanks. And Glenn sped it up so it looks like we're really efficient and fast with that process.
Yeah.
So you can see we've got the pool pit. We're getting ready for slab placements, and mainly over here on the west side is where we're getting these pretty large storm tanks to go in. All of the under slab MEP is done on the west side there, and we're starting to see some more action. So those are 10-foot diameter pipes. They're built down in Casa Grande. We went down and saw the plant there a few weeks ago. Yeah, that install started. When did that start? Monday. No, Monday was a holiday. Yesterday.
Yesterday we started doing some
Yesterday we started doing that. And then as you pan out, you can see we're mostly just still focused on some underground, but Vista is getting ready to speed up a little bit. I know there's been some questions on why we haven't seen a ton of action over there. A lot of that is ironing out some of the details for the swimming pool, or the therapy pool, not swimming
Yes.
pool. And some of the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, things like that need to go in for that. So that's all getting finalized. That equipment's been ordered, and you'll start to see that action go in. Any questions on the two drone videos? I know I put Todd in the spot for 3 minutes of, it's like that Chris Berman's 3 minutes from back in the day.
Oh, yeah,
with the-
ESPN speed
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah. Okay, so now we can slow down a little bit on some progress photos. So Todd, do you want to talk about just sort of just general progress while this is up, and then get into some still shots? Or?
Yeah, so we flew the last structural member up in May back here for building E, or D, I should say. And so we went through and completed the rest of the roof framing and all the, there's a lot of wind load on that building, so most of the trusses are a triple truss in that location, so it's relatively slow production work. It's not as fast as rolling single trusses for these guys, so it was a little slower work, which is why, this month you'll finally see that we got all the roof deck down. Those couple of black spots here over this building, here and here, are the same as what they are over this side. They're elevators. Those are where our elevator shafts are coming up through the building. So we've got temporary roof system over those right now, just to make sure that we can do all the work on the, I guess it's the top of the shaft or the underside of the deck there.
Yeah, let me show something on the next picture. We'll go right into what you're saying.
Oh, perfect.
So here's May to June progress, and it doesn't. It's not as startling as in some previous comparisons, just because all the structures are up now, which means we're working on the inside.
Yeah.
A lot of the buildings, right?
Well, I want to point out a few things from what we've done last month. So back in May, we didn't have screen walls here and here, but now we do. We didn't have deck. We got deck now. We didn't have deck over fourth floor. This building now has roofing, but as of today, it's got just a little section over here that's not roofed at all. We didn't have any roofing on it back in May. So we thought we'd take the opportunity to give you a month over month to show you that even though you may not be able to see from the ground, we have been working over there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I really like this. Glenn did this, and it's date stamped and everything from the cameras that we have. So, yes, sir.
Dropped a comment about wind and having to reinforce one side of the building more than the other. Is that it?
Well, the way that
You want to repeat the
yeah,
question?
sure. The question was, is I made a comment about wind. Did we have to reinforce the building more than another side? So this structure up here, so this portion of D does not have any mechanical units on it, number one. Number two, this one does. With mechanical units come mechanical screen walls. Mechanical screen walls add additional wind load on the structure. That additional wind load, along with the swirling winds that come out of the structural engineer's model from this space, create greater resistance and need to beef up the structure on the roof side at that location. So
Yeah, I will say this too. Screen walls are something a lot of times we don't think a lot about. They've been a really hot topic on this job because these things are beefy. Like, not only are they, these exhaust fans are like 7 foot tall. So these screen walls are anywhere from 7 foot to 9 foot tall. So when you think about that as a sail on top of a building, right? And it's all tied down in the structure. There's an incredible amount of like Todd said, beef behind that to make sure that there's no issue there. Yes,
Darren.
sir.
Are these screen walls, are they solid walls or are they perforated louvered?
So the question is are the screen walls solid walls or are they perforated louvered? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
So for buildings B, C, D, and E, they are solid. So they're metal stud frame with tube steel posts every 4 feet on center, and they're stuccoed on both sides. For the fun building, the screen wall is in this location. It is a tube steel post with slide-in perforated panel. So you get both kinds, country and western here, to be able to have for roof screen walls.
And the screen walls at the fun building have acoustical properties too. That's why they're different than the stucco. They're actual an acoustical rated wall panel that slides in between the posts.
Yes, sir. The question is on the living quarter buildings, are there elevators on each side of the building? So I will run through with where we have elevators. There's an elevator here that goes down to the garage. There's an elevator here that goes down to the garage. This elevator goes down to the garage. There's an elevator that is a 4-stop, first through fourth floor here, and that is it. There are stairwells at this location, here, here, and right here for the living buildings? Good question. All right.
All right, any other questions on that? So Todd said we topped out. Carter, I don't know if you knew I put this picture in there for you, so.
Yeah, we can print these off, and you can
yeah.
get Carter's autograph if you'd
Yeah.
like. He's famous now for being there for the day we flew the last bundle of trusses out.
So, yes, this is a big deal on a steel building. A lot of times you see people, they'll put a Christmas tree or they'll put something on it and they'll fly the last beam of steel. So for us, we flew our trusses in bundles. And so we kind of had to identify, okay, what's the last bundle of trusses we're gonna put up there? And then we had a little topping out celebration. So you can see Gretchen and Carter and sign the truss and yeah, we're official. Our structure is completely topped out, bottom to top. So that was a big, big milestone this month. All right, so this is B and C, right?
Yep.
So you can see what we were talking about, the exhaust fan up here, the screen wall around it. As Todd says, it's framed. It's a legitimate wall up there that ties into the roof structure.
Yeah, those big, gigantic exhaust fans, there are 3 of them on the job, one on D, one on B, and one on C. And I don't know what the cubic feet per minute that they draw, but they pull all the exhaust air out of the garage. So they take all the exhaust air from you guys parking vehicles and golf carts and things down there, and it takes it and runs it up 3 different shafts adjacent to stairwells, and then directly out the top of the vent into the atmospheric conditions. All right, so I think this picture is kind of cool. Sean agreed with me. So this is the bridge between B and C. Why is that cool? It's because we have a bunch of connectivity between it. So that conduit that's in there doesn't show all that well in the picture, but there's power conduit up above, and then the conduit down below is all of the pathway, raceway for low voltage connectivity. So fiber optics and Cat5 cable that feed each of the individual units, and the Soho panels go through those larger 4-inch conduits on the end. We also have fire sprinkler feed that runs across there, and then we'll have domestic water that runs across there as well.
You want to clarify what a Soho panel is?
Oh, a Soho panel. So when you guys go into your unit, it's the IT panel. Please don't ask me what Soho panel is, because I don't know that. Maybe if Darren knows and can volunteer and bail me out, that'd be great. But we just call it a Soho panel because it has something to do with a singular home, something or other panel. And it's basically where all your connectivity to internet and TV come into, so you can have a fun digital life in your own place. So, Soho it is.
Yeah. Typically they're in closets and,
Kind of
back of
tucked away
house,
spaces
tucked
that we
away
can,
rooms in your units.
Yep.
So.
All right, so this is the east elevation of building D and the north elevation of building E. Just off to the left of us would be the ramp down to the parking garage, just to give you an idea what things look like. So this, we'll start scaffolding both these buildings here in the next couple weeks. The significance of this picture on the right is it's one of the elevated corridors, probably in building D, the west wing. And we've gone through and we've got started running utilities down the corridors. So this happens to be a fire sprinkler main, and this is all the supply and return for the condensator. Help me out with the word. The
You're talking about for
HVAC
all the
piping.
HVAC, yeah.
Yes,
all the
the
wet side.
condensing units.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's the word I was.
Yes, sir.
I note that it's strapped to the wall.
Well, I'm so glad you brought that up. So the note was that these are strapped to the wall. So the reason I included this picture in here was 2 reasons. One is we've been talking about material stacking and storage and storms and things like that, and you notice we've got these straps. Okay, drywall is really, really heavy. So even though we're weather tight in here, we still have to stack it in a manner that it's not going to fall on anybody. So basically, that is to prevent, as we're doing all of this roughing and all this stuff in the hallway, drywall from falling on somebody at 90 pounds a sheet and potentially, causing as much as a broken leg or worse, right? And then the other reason that this picture is in here is because, to me, it's a pretty good milestone. We are basically fully stocked with drywall for all of B building, all of C building, half a D building, and
By the end of next week, we should be fully stocked with e-building.
Yeah. So that's great because now we can just go to town. As we pass inspections, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, all the things, the condensates, we can just blow through there and drywall. So it's a big deal. Yes, sir.
12s, 12 footers. They asked to look like big sheets. They're 12. They're 4x12s. They're 115 pounds a piece. Not something I want to lift all day, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. So it's really good significance. I'm gonna pile on to Sean's comment. You guys always ask us, especially earlier in the year or last year, we were asked, is there any material acquisition problems? For the last 2.5 months, we've been suffering from material acquisition problems on sheetrock. We've been allocated to getting one delivery, which was one delivery is approximately 220 sheets. Really not that much. We've been getting one a week, and what we really are needing, and now that material supplies are opening up a little bit, we're getting about 2 semi-loads a week, which is closer to 800 sheets a week. So we've been mildly compromised, but we've been working around it, and we've been strategically loading the buildings that are most critical. So we have been struggling through it, but so we, as a managerial team, we've gone through and made some decisions that are slightly out of the norm for this kind of construction, but we did it because we just wanted to make sure that when the opportunity presents itself, that we can just snatch and grab any kind of material possible.
Yes, we have multiple manufacturers of your typical sheetrock sheets approved by the design team, and so we've got, I think we're about 2,000 sheets for a typical floor in B and C, somewhere in there. That might be B plus C. It's somewhere in there. So when you think about we're getting a couple hundred sheets on a truck or maybe 400 sheets in a week, we'll burn through that in a hurry, right? So we're trying to get all that drywall here stacked in the building, ready to go. Todd was a drywall mover the other day, helping the guys out and making sure we have space for it all. Because it does take up a lot of space, and the drywallers would love to have just a big stack in the middle of the room, and we don't really have the space to do all that, so we're making the space, right? So anyway, more info on drywall than anybody ever wanted.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I had a friend that was injured by some sheetrock on a job site falling, and she's been totally disabled from it.
Oh my God.
I want to compliment you guys with as hard as everybody's pushing you to finish this job on time. Every time I drive by the job site, I can see all your safety elements in place. You know, straps on the guys working on the roof, various things. And I just want to compliment you on that. I think that's really exceptional.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
You very much. Very much appreciate it.
We got to send our people home safe so they can come
Yeah.
back and work tomorrow.
Yeah, there's nothing more important than that, right? So I appreciate that. I actually was in Sholo a couple of weekends ago, and I took a picture. I showed Todd of these guys building a custom house, and these guys were on the roof, and they were all the way out on the end of it, 2 stories up, nothing holding them but their sneakers that were on their feet, you know, and so yeah, I very much appreciate that. We really try to focus on that. Yes, ma'am, or sir.
Oh, the question is, are we still short on people? Just like every industry. Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah. No, it's a unique time. Not only are people not wanting to work construction, apparently they make more money now than when I was a laborer because they can pick and choose their hours, right? I never could pick and choose my hours. I always asked for overtime when I was in the field. But nowadays they kind of just go, I'll just show up, you know? So it's an interesting world that we're in. So yes, we are short. We have ramped up on one of our trades, the plumbers. They were sitting in about the 25, 28 range. We're almost close to 40 plumbers right now. So things are moving along pretty well there. We're probably at our last week of mass quantity of wood framers. We were up to 41 wood framers, and they're starting to scale back now because obviously we're in a condition where things are kind of throttling down. So
Yeah,
but no, we're doing okay.
Yeah.
Could we be better? Absolutely.
It's interesting because the size of the job can take a lot of people, right? Now that we have all the buildings basically being constructed, the villa's obviously not anymore, but the other buildings, and so you look around, you're like, oh, we should have more people over there, more people over there, but we have 150, 170 guys out there, guys and gals. But yeah, we could take some more. And then, as Todd alluded to, say a crew has 40. That's a really good sized crew, but that doesn't mean 40 show up on Monday, depending on how the weekend went.
Yeah,
right?
there's typically a brown
So-
bottle flu incident over the weekend.
Yeah.
On Monday,
So you
so.
lose, so if you got 25 that show up on Monday, because the other 15 decide they don't want to and they don't need the money for that day, you feel that a little bit. That's a good chunk of the crew. So we're trying to size the crews or help our trade size the crews to weather that and still be a consistent, predictable outcomes with their schedules. So,
Some
but
of the other things.
we meet with them. I'm sorry, Todd,
Go ahead.
but we meet with our trade. So everybody knows we meet twice a week on Tuesday and Thursday, and about 90% of that conversation is how many people, where, when. That is very much schedule and crew related. That's the vast majority. Safety is the first thing we talk about, and then the second thing we talk about is that.
You want all these things done, Todd, but I only have so many people to do this half of what you want, which are the most important. So I spend more of my time weighing the option between do I do this or do I do that. So it's a constant challenge because I can't always get my way with the number of people I want. But such is life.
Yeah, but we're making good progress, and I think that the work on the residential side is starting to slow down a little bit, which will help. But there's a ton of commercial work going on in this region, so it's going to go on for a while, I think. All right,
Okay.
let's talk about some fun in the fun building.
Building F. All right. So this is I'll try and stand somewhat offset. So this building F. This is a view to the north. This is the ramp down into the parking garage. We call this the donut here. We framed that thing this month. That is a structural steel feature that is going to have a walk path underneath it. So it's a covered walkway there and courtyard. It looks out. The center little rectangular feature is a water feature. It's like 8 by 14 or so. It's or 8 by 16. So we've got all the plumbing in. I think we showed last month that we had all the plumbing lines that run this way and this way. They terminate right in this location right now. That's where they are stopped at. Next week we'll dig and put the vault in. But you can see from an elevation. So this view, this direction is actually a view looking this way. We also have our electrical cabinet there, known as our service entrance section. Again, waiting for APS to come next week with their herd of trucks and pull feeders in and set a meter for us so we've got power. But we've been diligently roofing as well as doing a lot of interior framing inside that building for
Good segue.
soffits, vents, soffits and ceilings. So you can see we've got a lot of the non-structural light gauge framing that goes around and creates some of the alcoves and pockets and soffits. The ductwork for HVAC is in that building. We've got a couple connections to tie in. As soon as we get one more piece of rooftop mechanical equipment, we'll be able to tie in the grease duct that tie into the cooking hoods. The cooking hoods are on the road getting here from Captive Air, so they should be here. They should be arriving in Tucson hopefully today, and then up in our direction probably no later than Monday. We're hoping for the tail end of this week. Go ahead and get those things set. That opens up a flurry of work for the HVAC guys. And it's just that much more progress getting the kitchen components done.
So this is the community room, I believe. Looking here.
Yeah.
Right. And then this picture here is taken right here, I believe. So,
I'm sorry? The question is this going to all be glass? So yes, and yes. So this will all be glass here, and this will be a glass operable door on either side of the column there. Oh, it's super cool. That's going to look really awesome.
super cool. So we've gotten a lot of questions on this building in the past 2 sessions on sort of floor plan and what's where, and I've been trying to figure out a way to show you guys. Last month I used the floor plan from the plans and it was totally unsuccessful because you couldn't read it on the slide, which I realized as I was standing up here. So hopefully this month will be better. We put Glenn to work on it. So this is actually his drone shot, and then he took the floor plan, superimposed it over it, and took out all the different lines and things that don't matter, all the grid lines and all that, and tried to label the areas. So you can see where everything's at.
It's a little difficult to read even from up here, so
So
don't.
I can blow it.
Oh, can you? Oh, I think the most important thing is that we had the bar right there.
Yeah, that's right there.
So that's in big letters.
Yeah, so things to takeaways. The donut is here, and if you walk through the donut, you can get to the bar, right? That's easy way to remember. So this is G building now, right? We're F and G. So you can see it's got your main lobby and the classroom and some back of house types of rooms and offices and things like that. A big mail room
There
here.
you go. Yeah, the package room right next door.
Yep.
So
Yep, and then you've got an outdoor breezeway, a little bit like you have in the front of the villas, where it's kind of indoor, it's covered, but it's outdoor, and then that leads you down to the fun building, and then there you have your bar and your elevated dining and casual dining. And I told Glenn for next month to put the actual names, so I think it's Azul and
Copper-
Indigo Kitchen and Copper Sky.
Copper Sky, yeah.
Copper Sky. So you can really see, and this is a little bit additional private dining right here. So you can really see what this building is going to be when all the inside is built. So this elevator goes down into the garage, get deliveries and all that. They can go straight up into the back of house and the kitchen. You've got your employee break room area over there on the outside. So, yes.
One question that I get asked a lot is about delivery trucks over there, and we've told residents that there's, the only big trucks coming over there is the garbage truck, but there's no food deliveries or anything to that building.
To that building.
Everything comes to the main kitchen, and then it'll come over there in smaller, in golf carts and our box truck
Yep.
down into the parking garage, and then up the elevator into the kitchen.
Okay. Could everybody hear that?
I want to repeat for those that are on.
Yeah, so for those that are watching, what Kendra was talking about is we've gotten a lot of questions about delivery trucks, and nothing will be delivered directly to this building in like a big semi-truck, right? It's all going to be delivered to the main kitchen and then brought over via smaller box trucks and golf carts and things of that nature. So, yes, sir.
The outdoor patio eating area. There will be some tables underneath this area, and there will also be some out around the donut that we call it. Any other questions?
Anything
All right.
else? You guys like this? Can you see it a little bit better that way? Okay, good. We'll have to tell
Hey, you
Glenn.
didn't fail 2 months in a row. Way to go.
Yeah, I can't take the credit. I'll have to tell Glenn, good job. He bailed me out.
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
It's mobility storage.
That's where we put
Oh.
people that we don't care for very much, right? Yeah,
Guy named
Todd's right.
Vinny's at the door.
That's right. Todd's right. Yeah, it's mobility storage, walkers, things like that. They need to go.
Is there an entrance to the fun building from the south? There is. I know that there's a door, but I don't know if it's for exiting purposes. It's somewhere along this side. I think it's right here. I believe the answer for most general traffic is you'll be taking a pathway that comes along here and gets you in to the west side of the building. There's a door in the south elevation you'll probably see and go, man, Todd didn't tell me the truth. There's a door there, but it's more than likely for exiting purposes only. So it's not for main access to the building. All right.
You asked about the north. We had a question about a door on the north as well.
Oh,
So there is the main lobby door right here.
correct. Yeah. So this is this situation here. We've got some roofing material. It's a canopy, if you will. So you'll be able to come underneath the canopy into the double doors through the lobby and then over to the fun building. All right.
Any other questions on that? All right. So the water feature I thought deserved its own slide as we're starting to build them. This is just the little guy. There's bigger water features through here that we've showed in past months are all piped and ready to go. I love this picture because it shows the courtyard, and it's going to be a really cool area. It really will be. So we're pretty excited about that. I don't know if you,
No,
I don't know anything else about
no, that's
that
just
guy.
Sean, we have some, Gretchen's on vacation, but she's getting text to her.
Oh, fantastic.
So she's got some questions.
hey, we were
Okay.
supposed to change that to Darren's number.
When,
Yeah.
when is the project to be completed? What's the final completion?
The question is when is the project to be completed? The final completion date for this entire Inspirata Point is the 22nd of March, 2023. So, just, yeah, right around the corner. It's coming.
Another question is, how does HVAC connect individual apartments to the roof for heat and cooling?
Somebody with a mechanical background. How is the HVAC connected from the roof to the individual units? So, I'm trying to see if we've got a good picture here. Yeah. Behind this screen wall sits some condensing units. It's called a VRF system, which stands for Variable Refrigerant System. So, much like a split system in a residential configuration where you have a condensing unit outside and you have a fan somewhere either in your attic or in the end of your hallway, it's very similar to that. So what happens is the condensing unit up on the roof will, it's a two-way condensing unit because it can make hot compressed gas or cold compressed gas, and it cycles and it goes down to the individual unit. So you live in unit 206, right? You go over and touch your thermostat, and the unit inside, the air conditioning unit inside your living quarters, right when you walk in, typically directly above the front entrance, the unit's right there. Those condensing lines come down into that unit. That unit then has a fan motor that will blow the air through ductwork into the individual spaces. So the HVAC is a split system because the condensing unit up top provides the heating and cooling of the gas down to the condenser, down to the unit in each living quarters, and that air blows across a coil, and that will provide either warm air or cool air. Did I explain that well enough?
You did.
Okay.
And I think a key part of that is each individual unit has its own individual unit.
Correct. So you can't
Right.
adjust your thermostat and freeze your neighbor out. You'll
Right.
just freeze yourself out.
Yeah.
Or if you don't like your neighbor and try and boil them out, you can't do that either.
Yeah.
Because you're just going to make it hot for yourself.
Yes, sir.
So would you call this a heat pump?
The question is, would we call it a heat pump? Kind of technically, I guess it could be because it has a refrigerant-based system in there, but the industry term for these are variable refrigerant systems. So it's very similar to a heat pump because a heat pump can also work backwards, correct? So it works both in the cooling and the heating mode. This does the same thing. It's just a little bit more efficient system. The units that we have are Daikin's. That's the manufacturer of them, and they've been in use over in Europe for 25, 30 plus years. So
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think I'd answer that as this is a little bit more of a specialized system than a standard heat pump. So like our contractor, Central Supply, that's doing it, they specialize in these VRF systems. That's what they do, right?
But I don't hear that you're burning natural gas to provide heat. Is that true?
the question is are we burning gas to provide natural heat or burning natural gas to provide heat? No, it's electric based either way. So when you run the gas, it's all gas based through the refrigerant system. So the gas is either ran in one fashion to heat or the opposite direction to cool, much like a heat pump is. But it's more efficient than a heat pump is. The heat pump, the brazing on the copper line sets of a heat pump are not as, the pressure on the line sets for a heat pump are not the same pressures that they are for variable refrigerant. We have to test these systems at 380 to 400 pounds of pressure on these refrigerant systems as compared to a heat pump system, which is somewhere in the neighborhood of like 150 to 200. So a lot difference in pressure on the piping system.
Good question.
You're
Yes,
welcome.
sir.
Yes, sir.
At change of seasons, is it possible that one unit could be running warm and the other one running?
Yes. Correct. They are independent of each other. The question was, could one unit run warm, could one run cooling and the other run heating? Yes. Yeah, these systems are super, super flexible and super versatile. They also take these systems and put them in commercial applications. With the same condensing unit, they've changed the mixing system, and so that way you could have one room, like an IT room, where there's electrical can provide cooling, and the other side could provide heating somewhere else. But these are just individual based per front door, per key, if you will.
Good questions.
Yes, great questions.
Okay, so Vita, wanted to touch on Vita real quick. Like I said, most of the progress is in under slab stuff that you can't see. So it's not the most wow pictures that we've ever had.
We're in the put it in, take it out, put it in, take it out phase.
Yeah, but this is these are your pool walls. We've looked at these before. These are sitting there done. This is where the SwimX goes, and then you've got some under slab plumbing and electrical that's in, and then this is just another where we're backfilled on the south side of the pool wall, so you can kind of see the depth of it a little bit. But that's basically where we're at with Vita. So didn't want to ignore that side of the job.
Looks good.
And we actually, you can see some cubes of block up here. We actually started stem walls yesterday. We started stem walls to get ready to start placing slab on grades and things like that. All right, so for upcoming work,
All right. Oh, you should go back to that one.
yeah,
Upcoming work while we're here for the Vita Center, where this excavator sits, we're making a mess out of that area right now. We're going to dig a nice big hole and put those big shiny steel tanks in the ground. So that's what's happening over the next few weeks. We'll also go ahead and start trenching around the perimeter of the building for much shallower storm drain piping that picks up all the roof drain leaders. And then that'll probably take most of the rest of this
that'll
month.
take most of the month. Yeah, dry wells are coming after that tie all that together. But yeah, most of the work you're going to see is storm system, drainage, and then that slab on grade right there.
Yeah.
And those tanks, they look big on the truck. Wait till you see them over here. They take up that whole space. So we do have a third-party engineer as well, Hauser Engineering, that is out there every day when we're putting in the storm system too. I know in the past we've had questions about our underground storm. So we actually, for a system that big and to that extent, we have a third party that monitors our daily activities with that. Elmer, how are you? Good.
Gotcha. The question is there one big tank or is there multiple? There are three parallel barrels, three parallel tanks that are 3 sections long each. And I think they're 65 total linear feet. Is that correct? In length? The 3 sections
maybe,
make up?
yeah, maybe a little for 58, somewhere in there. But yeah, somewhere right in there, maybe 65. And then they each have an outlet on the ends. So as far as
Yeah, it's one big hole. Yep, very
Yeah.
much.
and then they'll connect, there's multiple dry wells and things that tie all that together. So, yeah, and they connect mostly down here on the south end.
All right.
All right. The question that Kendra had earlier on completion date, you can see the March 2023 date that Todd was talking about. We do have an interim completion date for B, C, and F of November of this year. And that's where we're trying to turn over the B building, the C building, and the Fun building. And then the Vita Center is tied to whenever our last turnover is. So it's like March 24th of 2023. Yes, sir.
Where is the entrance to the underground
Yeah,
parking?
you want me to show?
Oh, you had it.
But I got it here. Hold on.
Okay.
I think I do.
Do you?
There we go.
There it is. Ta-da! Yep.
Yeah. So it's in the southeast corner.
Yeah, we go back to that one aerial image. You can see that on the west side of campus, like Sean was mentioning, we call this the southwest cul-de-sac here. It shoots right through that location there. All right. Next.
Any other questions? Okay. And then I threw this aerial in there, Todd, so you could talk about anything else that we didn't already talk about as far as upcoming work.
Quick recap. This building will go gray and then white by next month. This building will be white by next month and have scaffolding around it. This building will go gray by next month. This one will have scaffolding around the perimeter. Roofing across the top will have commenced. This skeletal framework will have decking on it by the end of this week. And scaffolding will be gone on this building by the time we meet again.
And,
and then-
and if you were up here, you could see tiny little palm trees right there.
No, they're not palm trees.
Or what are the sissus?
They're a tree.
A
I'm
tree.
not a landscape guy, but I can tell you
Dang
that
it.
they're green, they need water, and they're growing right now.
Okay.
So
green
they're
you are
based
growing.
all along here. We planted,
Maybe a combination of a sissu and a palm.
it could be,
Yeah.
the Sioux palm.
Yeah.
So it's, there's 15 of them that we planted last week.
Sissu,
Sisu and
Tibu,
Tibu.
Okay.
Okay. Excellent, thank you. Way to bail me out again. Like it. What is going on the building, on the inside of Building C? Right now, we are installing ductwork and individual mechanical units for each front door. For each door has its own, or each living quarters has its own HVAC system, as I was just talking about. So we're putting those in. We're putting in all the ductwork. We're going to be framing the drop ceilings in there, and within about a week and a half, we're going to be going to what we call full production rock, which is the final sheetrock application. So it's going to be all walls, all ceilings, all tile backer board in the bathrooms, and finished complete operation. Then it leads to tape, texture, paint, yada yada. So that's what's happening in there, vertically through the floors right now.
Place to show the alphabet building.
Read off the alphabet. All right.
Should have it here.
Okay. So we have B, C, D, E, F, G, and Vita.
Yep.
You're welcome.
So if you were looking on here, it goes circular around that way in order, right? B, C, D, E, F, G.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
How are you gonna handle the roads when you move the construction? You have to have a road to go into the basement, because that's where they put the cars.
Awesome. Great question. So how are we going to handle the roads when we go through and open up the next phase? So what will end up having to happen is we will run a fence line south of Building B here, east of Building C, which will pick up those two water features. The fencing will come around and will basically ride the curb line all the way around Buildings D and E. So there'll be full access through here into building from B and C to F and G. And then we'll create a gate. I'm working on some discussions with the civil guys. We'll create a gate out of our laydown area here, which is where all our trades are parking. We will then go ahead and have a gate that goes this way and some signage to direct our people to come into this route in there.
But we
So-
have to have
But this whole loop,
this loop open.
this whole loop has to be open up in November for
Yeah.
fire department access. So we are in the midst of discussing activities and durations with our civil contractor. And what I was really trying to hope for was getting the elevation of stucco on the south side of E done before then, but I'm gonna probably have to speed the process up and start getting this going so we can get the site grading and curb and gutter and paving and all that stuff rolling before too long. So, any other questions? Yes. The question is who's responsible for the thermostats in the villas that are being replaced?
It's a good segue, actually,
Okay.
to the next slide.
One
So-
moment, please.
So we wanted to talk about work orders and warranty and things like that in conjunction with Darren, and because I know there's been some questions about that. So why don't we start with the thermostat question?
Question. So all the villas thermostats are going to be our responsibility to go ahead and change. However, Sundt has gone ahead and they're going to be replacing all of those thermostats in the other buildings. So all the apartment buildings thermostats are going to be the simpler thermostat that we're going to be putting in the villas. The villas thermostats have been ordered, but they're probably not going to be here till about the end of August. Just like a little bit of everything, long lead times. So, but they're ordered and they're on their way.
And there's only, so it's not like you can go to Home Depot and get any thermostat for these Daikin units. There's like 3 different thermostats you can get that Daikin manufactures. So you have to get the specific ones that that will work with those units.
But these will be simple. Heat, cool, on, off.
Yeah, they got a red, a blue, and a temperature gauge. Yeah.
I think you'll be able to program them, but it will be very limited. There won't be a whole lot of fancy little things that you can do with this. You can program certain times, so you can offset when you're gone. Your temperature raises and lowers when you come back and those kinds of things. But it's not real technical. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there was 3 thermostats available. One of them is the ones that you guys see in the villas. One of them looks like a Nest thermostat. It's round and just digital. And then the third option was the one that we're going with, that is much more like a standard thermostat, where it's you can see hot, push that button, cold, push that button.
Now, if you like your thermostat, you can keep your thermostat.
That's
No?
true.
Okay.
You have to be a PhD to run that.
All right. I put some stats up here, Darren. I don't know if you want to talk to them a little bit, but these were ones that
Yeah, so
we're working collaboratively with
I wanted to
Darren and his
prepare just a little bit for any questions that you might have pertaining to some of the villas and some of the work that we're doing. But just to give you just some fun facts of the work that we've done since we got C of O back in April of 22nd of April, as a matter of fact. We've done a lot of work. We've got a lot of requests, and so we've gotten a lot done. We still have some more to do. But just to give you an idea of what we've accomplished so far. So right now we've had a total of 531 work orders that have been generated for just the 16 units at the villas. And so as far as what we have open currently is 39, and we've closed out 492 of those work orders. So out of the 591, 492 have been completed. And like I said, there are some more. We've got 39 that are still open, and that's between Sundt and Royal Oaks, and we're working together to get those done. But a lot of work.
Yeah,
A lot of work's been happening.
and I can speak to the process. Obviously, this has been any turnover where we turn over buildings and then people are living in it right away, right? It's like, imagine if the first day that kids go to school in a new building and they all flush the toilets at the same time, right? It's kind of what happened. We opened the villas and everybody moved in, and so what we're trying to be is not necessarily perfect, but we're trying to give perfect effort. We're trying to be responsive, and we're trying to really collaborate with Darren and his team to make sure we're responding as timely as possible. So a lot of you have met Sarah or have met Angel. We are now meeting weekly with Darren and his team to go over any outstanding issues and figure out, hey, is this a facility issue? Is this a warranty issue? Or is this a request from residents or something they don't like, right? Like the thermostats. That's just something that people didn't like, right? So, and we kind of are trying to make sure we're on the same page with what bucket it falls so we can be as responsive as possible. So we appreciate everybody's patience as we work through that, but we think we had a pretty good system in place.
The question is, have we learned a lot? I'd be a pretty big fool to stand up here and say no. I learn every day. Yes.
That's the people that live in this building. That's their big concern, is to make sure that the next product that we give to people is a good product, and they don't have to have some of the problems we went through.
Correct. So the comment was the folks that are in the villas want to make sure that the experience for the folks moving into B and C is better than what they experienced. And I understand that. We heard loud and clear. We've tried everything possible to run these things down as quick as we can. If you think about it, we opened up, although we're opening up 41 units in the next go-around, they all share the same water system. They share the same hot water system, right? We basically built 16 custom homes, right? Now, we're building 41 custom individual finishes inside the units. But when you talk about HVAC, plumbing, fire sprinkler, domestic water, domestic heat, they're all one system for both buildings. So we've gone through and started some different process with our mechanical and plumbing subcontractors to go through and identify how we can start commissioning these systems far more in advance. One of the things that we've been experiencing, and it's really out of Royal Oaks and Sundt's control, and it took a really smart underground utility guy to help explain it or just come up with the idea, and it makes perfect sense. I know that we've been struggling with some dirt inside some of the screens. Part of our commissioning process is going to eliminate the components that could be controlled by us, going through and flushing the pipe, which we did. We chlorinated and we flushed not only the main underground domestic water line, but we fluorinated and flushed the inside plumbing lines, hot and cold.
For each
unit, each building. And then, so we went through and did all that, and then we still continued to experience problems. We had backflow preventers that were leaking, things of that sort. I get a phone call from our underground utility guy, and he goes, "Hey, have you ever thought that the amount of water that we were using during construction, which is to fill a water truck and then to fill a few 5-gallon buckets every couple minutes to go through and wash a paintbrush out or something like that, is such a minute percentage of water that is used currently," right? So if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, we have 16 units that came up online. I understand not all 16 are occupied, but the amount of water that is used out of those occupied units far exceeds what we use on a daily basis for construction. So taking it one step further, we tied into 2 different locations for EPCOR's water system. We tied in out on Royal Oak Road by the double gate that goes out of campus, and we also tied in by unit 1014 in the northwest cul-de-sac. So since then, the water flow changes on a constant basis. So EPCOR tries to provide a consistent pressure. They do not. Their water system can fluctuate 15 PSI. You guys won't know it because the amount of water that comes into the building really only needs to come in at like 65, 60 PSI, and everybody's pretty happy. But it can range from 110 down to 95 PSI on the main line. What does that mean? That means one day, water could flow this direction in that pipe, and another day, it could flow this direction. Keeping in mind that main line out in the street hasn't been disturbed or touched with a massive flow of water on it until we built the villas. So what's happening is the change in direction of piping, along with their fluctuations in pressure and our usage, is drawing water from different directions. And if anybody thinks the inside of those pipes is crystal clean, you might be wrong. Because we're probably pulling sediment and debris that's been in the main line for 40, 50 years, several blocks away. So did we try everything we possibly could? We absolutely did. We're looking at some potential options, reaching out to Sun City Fire to see if we can really bring some of their fire trucks out here and really pull a whole bunch of water off the hydrants to really flush things out. But again, us starting the commissioning process and getting those buildings online and running more water through them earlier than what we did, which is one of the lessons we learned out of the villas, is going to allow us to go through and try and mitigate that for future upcoming buildings.
Yeah, let me clarify too. And I know we're running long, so I apologize if anybody needs to get out of here, feel free, but I want to make sure we answer the question. So we do feel like we built a great product at the villas, and we do feel like we're also learning lessons from that product, and now that it's in use, things that need to change. So
The people living there believe that. And your explanation, they never had anything like
yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I never thought about it until this guy brought it up. I'm like,
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because we couldn't figure it out. It's a really good point. The water's been a hot topic because it's a really good point. We have the paperwork that we flushed them and chlorinated them all the way back to the meter, and so yeah, it was puzzling for us too. So
So if I could just say that, Jerry, just goes right back to lessons learned. Have we learned
Totally.
anything from this? A ton, for sure. And I think we've got the water situation fairly under control. I think that as long as construction's going to go on, we're going to exhibit these kinds of issues, and we just have to address them as they come. Again, just like what Todd was saying, Sundt had an engineer out here last week and talking with EPCOR and things like that, and they're coming up with these types of solutions, not solutions, but explanations for some of the problems that we're having. But Todd, maybe you could touch just a little bit about some of the work that you and the engineer did last week, some of the things that you were looking at.
Yeah, so what we were looking at was there's been some discussions about temperature of water inside the villas, especially specifically on the cold side, because there's no such thing as cold water in the valley this time of year, especially. And we're looking through the fact that the piping system that runs through the, I guess it's the breezeway, so it's
Breezeway,
it's the really the second floor structure, first floor ceiling space. So it comes in from the main, and there was one individual happened to be at the end unit was discussing how they have a hard time getting cooler water out of there. And it's because the piping system is on the complete opposite end of the building, and it has to travel 160 feet down that corridor that has ambient air in it. So that cavity was never designed to be insulated in a sealed space, so it's got a soffit vent in there. That soffit vent is allowing ambient air temperature up into that space. So we're fighting a losing battle on trying to keep water cool when there's 112 degree air around it. Or, well, maybe it has been 112, but it could be 112 up in there because it's there. You get sun baking down the deck from the top side, which is heating it up, and just the regular ambient air temperature of 105 degrees. It's a tough battle. So we have our own in-house mechanical electrical plumbing engineer with a degree from Georgia Tech that was out here last week. We were kind of flushing through some things, and we opened up one of the hose bibs, and we were noticing the rise and fall of the temperature cycles of as it goes through, and you can feel it coming out of the hose. So unfortunately, we don't have an answer yet. Do we know more than we did 2 weeks ago? Absolutely. So we're trying to scratch our heads and discuss with the design engineer what other possible options we have to kind of eliminate this
Yeah,
problem.
we know everything was piped correctly. I know there was some thought that, hey, maybe something was piped in the wrong direction or backwards thing. That's not the case. We were able to verify that with Lawrence last week, and now we're trying to come up with ways to, as Todd said, you've got a pipe sitting in 112 degree air. So how do we mitigate that so that the water is cold, sooner? Yeah. Right, and that's what we're trying to get is not to where it's all hot.
We're trying to
right?
get hot and less hot water. Yeah.
Yeah, last month the comment was, how come we brush our teeth with hot water and shower in cold water? And so we're trying to fix that. The other thing I want to mention real quick, because Kirsten's sitting back there, and she's done a fabulous job with the blue fingerprint and some of the resident personalization stuff. And we also have somebody you've met that's on our team, Sierra, that has developed these QR codes. So part of the QC is not just what's on the plan or what works, but also what individual personalization items have been selected. And so now we have, as we build, that we didn't have in the villas, not only is Kirsten walking and Sierra walking pretty much weekly or biweekly, but we have a QR code in each unit to where any worker can walk up with their phone and put it on the QR code, and it tells them all of the options that were picked for that unit, right on their phone or iPad. And that's posted in all the units in B and C and D and E. So that's been a process improvement as well.
I want to go back to thermostats for a minute.
Yes, sir.
Are they sophisticated enough that you can set them to, so if you want to cool better at night, allow it to warm up again in the morning, that you can put a time in there that those things would happen and not have to every night go and lower the temperature and raise it again?
Yeah, you should be able to do that.
Yeah, the question was on the thermostats, and if you can basically set them for, hey, from 8 to 5, I want it this temperature, and from 5 to 8, I want it this temperature. And yeah, you should be able to do that with those. Yes, ma'am. Yes. So the question was, with a bit of a skeptical eye. No, I'm just kidding. The question was for B, C, and F and G, if the target date is the end of November, and that is correct. Yeah, it's the end of November. Yeah, so what that means is that we can turn over that building with the kitchens and everything to Royal Oaks. And then Royal Oaks can take it from there and get the restaurant up and running as far as whenever the staff and the team is ready to go and actually open those buildings. But yeah, as far as substantial completion, where we have a certificate of occupancy or temp certificate of occupancy from the health department and the county, then yes, that's the end of November. slow close toilet seats have been installed.
So we went ahead and put slow close toilet seats in the villas. So you can
Go back
either drop your lid and it slams, or you just barely touch it and it just kind of slow close.
It's like the drawers, right? In
Like the
kitchen
drawers of the
when they have
cabinets. Yep.
the-
It's really nice at 2 in the morning so you don't wake your spouse up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I found that out. But
Yeah.
has there been any progress on the breezeway lighting dimming?
So that has been adjusted. So it dims now at 9 o'clock. Well, we may have to adjust then when it comes back on. We may need to stretch that out a little bit further. So I'll have to check into that. But as far as 9 o'clock, it does dim. And then of course it's set for another time for it to come on. And I think that we went ahead and did that at 4 o'clock just because there was a comment made by a resident that they're out walking their dog about that time. So we just want to make sure that, we keep those breezeways lit at the appropriate times for safety purposes.
Yes, sir.
Is the substantial completion date of the end of November a change from the 18th of November, which it was last month?
Now, see, that's attention to detail. I like that. So the question is the substantial completion date of the end of November a change from the 18th of November that it was previously? No. So November 18th is the date, but I put November just to be a little bit more broad brush, but we're still targeting November 18th for that turnover.
There's a question in the back, sir. Excellent. So the question / comment was, are we aware of the fact that the dimension from the top of cooktop to the bottom of the microwave is 12 to, I think there's one that's like 13 and a half. Yes, we are aware of it. We did, was verified during inspection with the county on our final inspection. We did comply with the manufacturer's installation instructions, which is why we were able to pass. However, does it work for cooking a big pot of gravy? Nope. So we are aware of it. For the rest of the 150 units, we've gone ahead and elected to order a shallower upper cabinet. And then I'm going to let Darren address what's happening for the villa units at those locations. Maybe.
Well,
I don't mean to
Yeah.
put you on the spot, sorry.
so there's an option, obviously, to correct that. And that would be a modification because, one, the cabinets were put in per design. And so we could make modifications, but we'd have to talk about what that's going to look like with the resident and the request.
So the cabinets in the villas are 30 inches deep, and per design, everywhere we're 30 inches deep. So the other units are going to get 24-inch deep cabinets. But as we've been talking about, the cabinets have been built for a long time. They're in our storage unit, right? So there's a good amount of expense there that the team is taking on, and Royal Oaks is taking on to change those out and make it better for all the residents. And so I think in the villas, it's a little bit of a case-by-case basis. The manufacturer states it only has to be 13 inches, so that's what the design was based around. But as Todd said, somebody with a big pot, 13 inches isn't very much. So, and then if you got the upgraded microwave, that's where it gets less than that, because that microwave is a little bit bigger.
Jared, when VSD open up, is there a move-in schedule for the unit?
Yes, there will be a move-in schedule. We're actually talking with marketing about that, what that's going to look like. And we certainly want to give ourselves some time to commission each unit. And so by phasing that, it's going to make that a lot easier. Yeah, most definitely. And just also to we still have some units that are available over at the villas that are now going to be occupied here in the next couple of months. And so my team is going through and we're commissioning everything. We're going through everything with a fine-tooth comb to make sure everything's working. Running the appliances, leaks, all those kinds of things ahead of time, so we're ready.
And I wanted to kind of tie those questions in. So Gretchen and I did talk last month about on the next turnover, making sure that we're not hey, the county just passed this unit, here's your keys, right? That we do take the time. So that November 18th, I don't know what that is going to look like when it comes to move-ins, but I know that everybody is of the opinion we want to give
Not
a,
move in on the 19th.
Yeah, give a little bit more time to go through and do everything Darren's talking about.
So the question is who's going to be the point person when it comes to move-in dates, right? For the B and C buildings, all of the rest of the buildings. Once the building's turned over to Royal Oaks, we have C of O. That pretty much turns over the whole entire building to Royal Oaks. And so, there's kind of a fine line that, we work with Kirsten and the marketing team. They do a lot of work with your personalizations and things like that. But once it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Kirsten, because you're back there, is that once we get C of O, then that turns it over to Carrie McCormick. And Carrie McCormick is in the refurb department. I'm not sure if you've met her yet or not, but yeah, so you're going to be working a lot with both Kirsten and Carrie McCormick, especially if, that personalization happens to have some modifications to your new home.
There's also the logistics of traffic, and we can only have so many moving trucks in that area at a time. It's congested. So we may say one move in the morning, one in the afternoon. We don't know what that looks like, but we've got to kind of control that too.
Yeah. I know we're way over on our time, so maybe, I know you've been waiting for a question, then we'll wrap it up.
We toured the villas, we noticed the cabinet heights, upper cabinets especially, allow, for example, my wife's about 5'2", she could just about reach the lower shelf of the upper cabinet. So we'd be going to ladders, which is something not ideal for older people in kitchens. Can those be lowered in the rest of the units, lower than they are in the villas?
So the question was on the upper cabinet heights and if they can be lowered because the upper portions of them are pretty difficult to reach, depending on your height. That's a really interesting question because we do have a minimum height for the countertops and the appliances, and that kind of sets the bottom of the cabinets there. So if you ask me if they could move up, I could tell you no, because the ceiling is there in the other units. As far as moving down, we really can't get them any lower than what they are.
So in the interest of time, we should probably just go ahead and wrap this up. But I will say that I'll stay behind, and if you have any more questions for me, I'll be happy to stay and answer those questions for you. And also, I'd like to just finish up with, the landscaping and the EVS crews. We have Santos Diaz. He's our new EVS manager. You've seen some emails come from him talking about maybe power washing, but mostly in particular about the window cleanings that are going to be happening for the villas, and also patio cleans that can be scheduled with him. So I know that his team and the landscaping team are staying on top of it to keep the breezeways clean and windows and patios and things like that clean for you. So if you do have any questions, I know that Gretchen's number has been on the bottom of the screen, and she's kind of been the go-to for all of that, but she's on PTO this week. She's in Yellowstone, or on her way anyway, right, Kendra? And so while she's out, and in interest of having a nice, quiet vacation in Yellowstone, which would be nice, please feel free to just reach out to me, and I'll help answer any questions that you have. And if I don't know the answer, I can certainly find the answer, okay? So again, I'm more than happy to stay afterwards and answer any questions that you have.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate you. See you again next month.
Thank you.